Hey guys, I'm Captain Mike and I'm here with Eric Kuhn, Senior Product Manager at Furuno. I want to talk to you about a new feature on the Furuno NavPilot 711 called Sabiki Mode. This, I'll tell you what, is absolutely ingenious and really revolutionizes autopilots. And Eric, I think that this feature alone really separates the Furuno autopilot from everything else there on the market.
Yeah, Mike, we're really excited about this new feature. The genesis of it was that, we went out fishing and we're trying to get some bait, working around some buoys and some current and wind. And it's a challenge to keep the boat pointed in the right direction. And what I noticed when we were doing that is when I had the autopilot in regular mode, the autopilot would almost do just the opposite of what you want to do. It would tend to push the boat broadside into the wind and not keep it stern to. So we went back and we spent a lot of time, came up with some ideas, pushed it to our engineering staff and said, hey, make a reverse mode, make a true reverse mode that'll work for these fishing guys and also for some other applications. And that's what we're doing right now. It's really, really interesting.
So essentially, really, that Sabiki mode on this NavPilot 711 is exactly what you just said. It's autopilot in reverse. Let me explain to you how important this is when you're bait fishing. And again, it's called Sabiki mode. It has a lot of other features and a lot of other benefits that we're going to talk about. But when you're up against a buoy, a marker, typical places where you're going to load up on pilchards, ballyhoo, herring, goggle eyes, oftentimes you're dealing with current, you're dealing with wind, as you mentioned, the boat's all over the place. And if you don't have a dedicated guy on the wheel, it could really be a hassle, especially if you're bait fishing alone or if there's a lot of other boats around you in a tight area.
Yeah, and you're trying to keep away from everybody.
Exactly.
It's really nice to have the pilot do it. And one of the nice things is that unlike a human that tends to overcompensate in that situation where you'll be back and forth on the wheel and you'll have a lot of, you'll be erratic and be all over the place, the pilot can sense the heading, the reverse heading, very precisely. So it'll automatically make very small, minute changes in these conditions that'll keep your heading perfectly aligned with the direction that you set.
All of that technology is really important, but for a fisherman like me, I'll tell you what's most important is catching the bait.
Right.
That's what it's all about. It's about catching the bait because all of the fisheries everything all goes back to that bait. The better bait you have, the more bait you have, the more competitive of a fisherman you're going to be, and the more successful of an angler you're going to be. So in the Sabiki mode here, I'm backing right up to this buoy, this bait buoy, and I don't need to keep my hand on the wheel. I'm not touching the wheel at all. I could focus on catching that bait, put as much bait in my wells as I possibly can, and all I have to do with one hand is every now and then just control one or multiple engines, depending on how much power I want, to keep that stern faced exactly where I want it to be. And I can focus on catching that bait. I don't have to worry about what's going on up here. It's safer, it's more productive, and it's so much easier. It really is.
And you can basically eliminate a person on the boat because you don't have to have anybody on the wheel. That's the key.
And
it's really simple as well. So once you activate Sabiki mode, just twist the course dial and set the reverse heading or the stern heading that you want and leave it alone. And the pilot will figure everything out. It's really that slick and easy.
Right. Mm-hmm. And now obviously you're going to have to, determine your wind direction, your current, the direction that your boat is drifting in, and that's just going to take you a couple of seconds to get dialed in as to exactly what direction you want your stern in. Right now we've got this big bait buoy right off of our stern here, this bell buoy, and I'm going to focus on fishing for bait all around this buoy. I don't have to worry about the boat turning broad to, as you mentioned, broad to the wind. So really is an ideal scenario. Eric, let me just also mention this. I could see other areas where Sabiki mode may also come into play.
Yep.
Let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah, absolutely. Just now, for example, we're on the Intracoastal, and I could, people have told me I've sent this out to a few people, and they said, hey, I also turned on Sabiki mode when I was waiting for a bridge to open. I was in some current, I had to be kind of stern too, and Sabiki mode works perfectly in that situation as well, because you're doing exactly the same thing. You're basically pointing the stern into the direction that you command, and if you don't do that on a regular autopilot, if you put it in forward, the autopilot will tend to do just the opposite of what you want it to do if you're not in this new Sabiki mode. So that's the real difference and the real kind of game changer in the way this pilot works.
Now, the Sabiki mode, is that available on all of the NavPilot 711 units?
It's a standard feature in every NavPilot 711 now, and it'll work with any reversing pump that you have hooked up to the system. So just about any kind of configuration with the NavPilot 711, you can engage this Sabiki mode. It's optimized for like center console outboard boats, but it works well on larger sport fishing vessels as well.
Here's another application. How about you're right over top of a wreck, maybe you're doing some vertical jigging, you're dropping some bait straight down, or even deep dropping and you've got some current. You literally can just point that stern right into the current, pop it into Sabiki mode, one hand on one lever that you practically don't even have to touch.
Exactly.
You can set it and forget it, focus on fishing and maintain your position. Almost like a virtual anchor.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, almost like a
DP system, a dynamic positioning system. We don't have engine control, but we do take care of the steering. So you just basically point the stern in the direction that you need it to be, whether you're over the top of a wreck or any kind of position fishing, and let it go. And this pilot will keep that boat in that direction. So
absolutely awesome.
That's the key.
I'll tell you what, if you're not already equipped with the Furuno NavPilot 711 on your outboard powered center console, you need to do this. I mean, the benefits far outweigh the minimal investment, that's
exactly.
for sure.
Yeah.
Eric, thanks so much for all the information. Let's go catch some bait.
Absolutely, let's do it, Mike.